Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
We've talked before about right to repair, and that's the question of you own something and it breaks down. Should you be allowed to and capable of repairing it yourself, or is it okay for the manufacturer to say, you can never work on this? If you buy it from us, we are the only people who can work on it, or you have to take it to like an authorized repair facility. The right to repair is something people have been debating recently quite a bit. It's a hot topic. California apparently had a right to repair bill working its way through their assembly. It quietly got killed in committee. It was killed in committee. Tim sent me the note about this. Thank you very much. Thomas Claiborne wrote the story for the Register. Despite public support for more repairable gear, tech lobbying may have kept that from happening. And that's the thing. This is an extremely popular topic. Most people are for this. Big businesses, however, are against it. And of course, big businesses have lobbyists, and average people do not. California Right to Repair Bill SB 983 died in committee last week. Despite broad consumer support, it's not clear quite who killed the bill, but right to repair advocates point to the typical suspects. Tech companies that benefit by controlling who can repair their goods and have lobbied against right to repair bills all over the U.S. It happened in the most shadowy, unaccountable part of the process, so it's hard to know exactly what happened, said Nathan Proctor, who is from the U.S. Public Interest Research Groups. He's a senior right to repair campaign director, and he gave that in a message to the Register. Proctor said it could be if special interests got to political leaders, but also allowed that those, killing the bill might not have considered it to be a priority at the moment. The bill was introduced in February by California State Senator Susan Talamantes Eggman. Among other provisions, it required product manufacturers to offer, on fair and reasonable terms, documentation, tools, software, and parts necessary to diagnose, maintain, and repair products. These would have to be provided both to product owners and to repair shops. The right to repair is quite popular among people, according to CalPIRG. It's supported by 77% of Democrats, 61% of Republicans, 82% of independents, and is only opposed by 5% of the people in the last survey they asked about this. Since the first such bill was introduced in 2014, 34 states have begun developing right to repair legislation, according to the Repair Association. And the FTC, in a report last year, said it supports expanding consumer rights in this area. Also, the White House supports this. Some progress appears to have been made recently. Apple, who have long fought the right of repairability, has made much of its self-repair program. However, recent reviews argue the initiative is designed to make it look like Apple supports it while discouraging repairs by making the process somewhat onerous. Senator Eggman's bill made it out of committee in April with an 8-1 vote. The legislation is backed by repair shops, consumer groups, and environmental organizations opposed to difficult-to-repair products and the waste that follows from current practices. However, there were 7 members on the California Senate Appropriations Committee, all voting to suspend the bill. I'm incredibly disappointed that SB 983 is held in committee. After a thorough review, the FTC found scant evidence to support manufacturer claims about the potential harms of the right to repair movement, but that didn't stop their trade organizations from making the same tired arguments in committee, says Eggman, speaking to the Register. The organizing around my bill and other efforts across the country have made it clear that these arguments don't hold up with consumers who are saddled with high-cost repairs and premature replacements. Executive Director of the Repair Association, Gay Gordon Byrne, said, "We don't know who stopped it," noting that a similar medical right to repair bill suffered a similar fate last year, but said it's the same list of suspects. That same person speculates that California lawmakers are worried about the cost of implementing the bill in the form of lawsuits from product makers, thinking that the product makers might file lawsuits to block the bill. I think that people have been threatened with litigation, she said. There's a lot more fear about enforcement and litigation than about the meat of the bill. The Appropriations Committee, she suggested, is worried the state would have to set aside substantial funds to enforce the act and to defend against lawsuits brought by companies fighting the new rules. Meanwhile, Sander Cushion, state advocate for Kelpierg, blamed tech sector lobbying. Throughout the process, we had significant opposition from the tech industry, he said. This included TechNet and the industry association that represents Apple, among others. Even though nearly all of the tech industry's talking points against right to repair were refuted in last year's Nixing the Fix report from the FTC, they were still able to kill the bill through a massive lobbying effort. This was definitely disappointing, especially considering the well-documented bipartisan support for right to repair reforms among the public. This was the furthest a consumer electronics right to repair bill has made it in the legislative process in California. So I'm hopeful that our momentum, that public support, and our great coalition of environmental and repair shop allies will lead us to victory soon. TechNet was asked for comment but did not respond in time for this story. So there are two issues that most people point to with right to repair, and one of them is the one that's not as obvious, but that is if you buy a product and it goes bad on you, and you can't repair it, and you toss it, it can wind up in a landfill somewhere. And there's all kinds of stuff in our modern electronics that really shouldn't wind up in landfills. But the other thing, of course, is simply you buy a product and it malfunctions. If it's under warranty, you bring it back in for warranty work. If it's not under warranty, what do you do? And there are places out there that advertise that they repair these things. But they fall into this gray area because many of them are not authorized or endorsed to repair these things. And so the manufacturer is hoping that you will bring this back to one of their dealerships or back to them directly and have it fixed at their direction. And of course, they make money off that. And that's the argument is, number one, they can then set the price for the repair. But number two, it's just free market, you'd think, would allow for anybody to make the repair. And I mean, I remember I've had computers that went bad. I remember having a tower in my office that went bad. And I remember just unplugging a bunch of junk off the back, picking it up and carrying it into a repair shop. And it was just some independent repair shop around the corner from my office. And I drop it on the desk and I go, it died. Guy pokes around a little bit and goes, yeah, I think your cooling fan and your motherboard went bad. He climbs in there, not physically, of course, but gets in there, replaces it, and it works now and it works fine. This is a couple years ago, but he fixed it. If I'd had to send that back to the manufacturer to have them fix it, I needed the computer then, and I got it back like an hour later, So there's all kinds of stuff going on here, but the biggest fights we tend to hear about this are with the cell phones and other products from a couple big companies that are notorious for making their devices hard to get into. And I often joke about the fact I've got an iPad right here. It's off camera, but I use it as a stopwatch while I'm talking so I can glance at it and see how long I've been talking. And it does a bunch of weird things. But if you look at it, you also realize that you can't open it up and poke around inside of it that easily. I'm sure it can be opened up, but it's not obvious. And, the other big area this happens in is apparently in farm equipment. And farm equipment is extremely expensive. If you actually go to a dealership that sells farm equipment, just for chuckles, jump out, go over and look at the biggest tractor you can look at, and look at the price, and then read the list of the things that are on it, including the air conditioning and the stereo system. And you realize this ain't your grandfather's tractor, my friend. This thing is a work of mechanical art, but it's also extremely expensive. And so you sink all this money into this cutting-edge tractor, and something goes wrong with it. Under warranty, bring it back to dealership. Outside of warranty, bring it back to dealership. Now, can you just call up some guy and have him come out and fix it? There's a good chance no, because to fix it, you need to have all kinds of proprietary stuff that only the manufacturer has or allows their dealers to use. And I've seen horror stories about guys who say, I've got this tractor, I'm getting ready to do one of the biggest operations of the year, whether it's planting or harvesting or whatever he's going to do. And he goes out and something malfunctions in the onboard computer system on this tractor. Tractor's bricked, okay? Now, if he can get it back to the dealership, they'll get to it when they can. But there was a day where you could call up a repair guy and he'd come out to the field and try to fix it in the field for you. And they could do that if they had access to the right equipment and so on, but the factories, the manufacturers won't let the repair people have that unless they're licensed through the manufacturer. So that's one of the big obstacles here, is that these big manufacturers, and by the way, their argument is that our stuff is so complicated that you got to have the right tools and the know-how and all of this stuff, without which you're just going to make it worse. And quite frankly, if we can't oversee the repairs, it ain't going to get done right. Now, that's the argument. I'm not saying it's right. That's just the argument. So, some of us remember the day when you could buy a car and pull it in your driveway, and if it didn't run right, you could pop the hood and look at it and go, I bet it's that, or I bet it's that. Nowadays, you pop the hood in a car, and all you see is engine covers and black boxes and hoses and wires and cables. And if you've got all kinds of scanning devices and so on, you might be able to figure some of this stuff out, but it ain't the same. Chevy small block, water pumps right there, spark plugs, distributor. Oh, the good old days. So California's right to repair bill is quietly killed in committee. Thomas Claiborne wrote that for the Register. We'll see what happens, because I think this is a situation where the manufacturers are going to lose. It's just a matter of when. The groundswell is getting larger and larger. More and more people support right to repair. Tim, thanks for sending it. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. When we discover that the truth is already in us, we are all at once our original selves.